Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Waxing Poetic. Sorry, I'm going to close some of these windows for myself here. Welcome to the Waxing Poetic exhibit artist talk and poetry reading. My name is Amelia Kramer, and my co-hosts for today are Ruth Maud and Jane Cousens. We are recording this session. So feel free to turn off your video if you don't want to be seen on the recording, and please keep yourself muted unless you're specifically asked to unmute. We encourage you to change your Zoom display name and pronouns so we know how to refer to you respectfully. So for that, on a laptop, you would click participants, and the side menu will open, hover over your name, click on the three dots, click rename. There's a lot of steps, but and make the edits. I think on an iPad you can just touch your name and it will come up with the changing. But again, feel free to change them if you want to. Put your Zoom onto gallery view. On phones, it's a little bit more difficult, but on iPads and laptops, it's under view. Actually, on an iPad, I think it's under, it's in the three dots. So the chat will be monitored as best we can, and you can ask questions and make comments there. After each artist speaks, there will also be some time where we open up the floor to questions and comments. At this time, we ask you to use the raise your hand reaction, and we will call on you to unmute and speak. So I'll just hand it over to Ruth. I'm just gonna let some other people in here while Ruth speaks.
Sorry, I was muted. There we go. It's wonderful to come together today as an encaustic community. We are thrilled at the response to this exhibition, which has attracted over 160 encaustic works from all over the world. Our submissions come from Australia, Brazil, Canada, England, France, Germany, Ireland, Saudi Arabia, Serbia, South Africa, Spain, Sweden, Switzerland, the United States, and Wales. April is designated as National Poetry Month in both Canada and the United States. So it served as an ideal time to showcase the Waxing Poetic exhibition and celebrate the interplay between spoken word and visual art.
I'd like to start today's presentation with a land acknowledgement. The Canadian Encaustic Conference is present in all corners of our country. Our organizers and participating artists are from different communities across Indigenous territories. We are committed to working with First Nation, Métis, and Inuit communities, and we seek to uphold equity and diversity for all to participate. And today in particular, I am speaking to you from the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe Nation, the people of the Three Fires, known as Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi nations. And we further give thanks to the Chippewas of Saugeen and the Chippewas of Nawash, known collectively as the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, as the traditional keepers of this land, now called Owen Sound.
I want to talk to you a little bit about how we came here today. It is thanks to Andrea Bird. In 2010, Andrea and her artist husband, Daniel Byrne, established the Hive Encaustic Studio at the Alton Mill in Caledon, Ontario, where they taught encaustic and creativity workshops. This is where the organizers of the Canadian Encaustic Conference met. Andrea hosted monthly Connect and Create sessions, where groups of artists discussed the sources of creative inspiration. These monthly sessions brought us together, forming deep bonds of sisterhood and trust. Andrea's dream of holding a Canadian Encaustic Conference was interrupted by a cancer diagnosis in 2012. 5 years later, the cancer returned and Andrea and Dan left the Hive to make the most of their time together. Amelia Kramer never forgot Andrea's dream and reached out to 5 other Hivesters to form a conference organizing committee. This exhibition is the first event we're organizing as we prepare for the first Canadian Encaustic Conference to be held in Owen Sound, Ontario in September 2025. Andrea is pleased that her vision of a Canadian Encaustic Conference has become a reality. The Andrea Bird Bursary has been set up in her honor. This annual bursary will provide 2 emerging Canadian artists free admission to the conference. The submission fees from the Waxing Poetic exhibition will fund the Andrea Bird Bursary, as well as other Canadian Encaustic Conference scholarships. In recent years, Andrea has been writing poetry, and she's published a beautiful poetry chapbook. And in it are detailed images of some of Andrea's beautiful recent encaustic work. You'll find a link to purchase a copy of this book on the Andrea Bird Bursary page on our website. And if you'd like to make a donation to the Andrea Bird Bursary Fund, you can click the donate button on our website. And if you haven't already, please follow us on our social media platforms where we're at Encaustic Conference. Amelia has popped those links into chat for you. So as we begin now to have the artist talk and poetry reading, Amelia is going to introduce each speaker, and we'll try to monitor the chat for questions and comments.
In the call for submissions for this art show, we asked artists to submit our encaustic, oh my gosh, can't even say the medium that we all paint with. Encaustic artwork inspired by a poem. Many artists wrote their own poems. Others chose a poem that connects with their artwork. Today, we won't be able to hear from all 119 artists because that would be incredibly long. But we hope that you'll spend some time reading the poetry and looking through the artwork on the website. Be sure to click the images to view them full screen. So we'll start the artist talk with a recording from Amanda Pierce, who is not able to join us live today.
Hello everyone, it's wonderful to connect with you, even if it's just through audio. My name is Amanda Pierce and I'm an encaustic sculpture artist as well as art instructor based in Chelsea, Quebec, Canada. The concept of this sculpture, blending half tree and half woman, has actually been on my mind for quite some time. Originally, I planned to call her The Giving Tree, inspired by one of my favorite childhood books, The Giving Tree by Shel Silverstein. The story explores the relationship between a tree and a boy who grows up, with the tree selflessly giving everything it has to fulfill the boy's desires, despite receiving nothing in return. As a child, I found myself questioning why the tree kept giving, even when it wasn't reciprocated, and I couldn't help but see the boy's action as somewhat selfish. When I completed my sculpture, the name The Elder Tree came to me, and I envisioned a different narrative for her. Here is the poem I wrote that accompanies the elder tree, expressing her essence and the inspiration behind her creation. In her branches, she holds the sun, a beacon of light for all to see. Her roots, deep in the earth, bind her to ancient memory. With arms outstretched like branches, she offers shelter from life's storm. A guardian of nature's wisdom, in her, the world is reborn. This sculpture symbolizes the nurturing and protective force of nature, embodying wisdom, strength, and resilience. The imagery of the tree holding the sun suggests warmth, light, and guidance, while its deep roots signify a connection to the earth and stability. The outstretched branches offer shelter and protection, reflecting the role of nature in providing refuge during life's challenges. Through the elder tree, I aim to convey a message of renewal, transformation, and the reoccurring nature of life. It emphasizes the enduring power of nature to inspire and nurture growth, serving as a reminder of the importance of preservation and respect for the environment. She stands as a guardian, ready to shelter, protect, and provide, but also as a reminder that we mustn't take nature for granted. I just wanted to also take a moment to thank the organizers of this Waxing Poetic exhibition and the Canadian Encaustic Conference. I am thrilled to be one of the instructors at the 2025 conference, demonstrating how to create the Garden Goddess sculpture. I really hope to see some of you there. Thank you.
So I'm gonna pop Amanda's Instagram handle into the chat so you can follow her there. And if you have questions about her presentation or about techniques that she used or anything that you would like to ask her about the sculpture, I would just DM her in hold on a second, in DM her in Instagram. So next we will hear from Jane Cousens from Toronto, Ontario.
Good afternoon. I wrote this poem based on a weekend 6 years ago when I actually did get lost driving with an artist and a poet around the countryside north of Toronto. The artist was Andrea Bird and the poet was her friend Rosemary Watola Tromer, the then poet laureate of the state of Colorado. Andrea had extended an invitation to the opening for the retrospective of her life's artwork that weekend at Paul Moran's gallery in an old converted church in the village of Alton. She'd also asked Rosemary to run a poetry workshop, and I'd eagerly signed up for both. The three of us stayed at the same bed and breakfast, and I ferried us between events. Now, I'm a city person, unfamiliar with the farm country in that area, and my car still doesn't have GPS. So on the Sunday morning, even though it was a short distance from the bed and breakfast to the place where the poetry class was being held, we got lost. I was rather stressed about getting to our destination on time, but as you can see from the poem, Andrea and Rosemary took it all in stride, and for a little while, I felt I could see things the way they did. Oh, and for any non-artists listening, Maple's yellow is a paint color. The poem's called If You Ever Get Lost with an Artist and a Poet. If you ever get lost with an artist and a poet, your attention may be drawn away from the white lines on the road to the fat-leafed soybean and Naples yellow fields. If you ever get lost with an artist and a poet, they may invite you to stop at a sacred white space with cathedral ceilings held up by teal and red paintings and a single clear voice. If you ever get lost with an artist and a poet, you might detour back along a gravelly road, searching for guideposts that suggest you look for direction in a good question or by listening to the space between. If you ever get lost with an artist and a poet, the artist may say to the poet, "Last night, when you said you lost your phone, I thought it was a poem. Maybe life is a poem." And you all may laugh in wonder. If you ever get lost with an artist and a poet, you may forget you ever had a destination and arrive in a place you belong.
Thanks, Jane. Are there any questions or comments or new ideas for Jane? If you have any questions, you can unmute yourself because I can't see everybody, whether there's somebody's mouth moving without them talking or without us hearing them. So unmute yourself and just go ahead. Jojo says they love that last line. I'm gonna pop Jane's Instagram handle into the chat as well. Is there any questions at all? Okay, we'll move along. Next, we will hear from Emery. She is from Quebec. Emery will be presenting in French. If you would like to follow in English or a different language, please click more than options than caption language and choose English from the menu. Please understand that these captions are auto-generated and may not be an accurate translation. So Emery, if you could please unmute yourself and speak to your artwork and to your poem. Are you here, Emery? Let me just see if she's here. I can see that you're here, Emery. I see that you're muted though. Emery, I might suggest that you leave the meeting and then come back in because I can't seem to unmute you myself. So we'll skip this, not skip, but we'll come back to this one. So next is Shere. I hope I'm saying your name properly, from Oregon. So Shere, you can unmute yourself. Oh, here's Emery. Do we want to do Emery?
Yes, back up and do Emery.
Okay, yeah. Okay, Emery. Emery, my French is horrible now. Voulez-vous, I can't, yeah. I'm sorry, my French is really horrible now. If you could speak to your poem and your artwork.
Amelia, why don't we continue and we can come back to Anne-Marie.
Okay. Okay, so Shere from Oregon in the United States. Oh my gosh, I can't even.
Thank you so much. And it is Shere, but I
Shere.
don't take offense
Okay.
at a variety of ways. And I first want to thank the organizers, all of you. I find for a creative person, when something of this scope is so beautifully organized, it just allows all of us to bring our best. And I appreciate that so much. So I'm just going to speak extemporaneously. I've been many things in my artistic life, including being a storyteller and a puppet maker. I love 2-dimension and 3-dimension equally. I believe I love Encaustic because it's so physical for me. And it reveals things in the way that poetry reveals for me. About 5 years ago, I've dedicated consistently to writing poetry, and but that doesn't exclude my visual maker life. So also as a teacher, and I would say a student, but most of us have some kind of course early on if we have formal training in the basics of design. Much later, I taught design students and taught that basic design course where I felt like, oh my gosh, this is an incredible thing to do, and it's incredible to do after years of practice. So I often find that language within my imagery, maybe not when I'm making it, but when I, in this case, return to it. So it's partly that. And I call this bird hand thread. What do you see? Stepping stones, ladder, a door, window, a grid. Bird hand thread. How the eye moves, how I write, left to right, top to bottom. A bird in the hand is a worthy thread and a strand. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shere. Does anyone have any questions for Shere or comments? I'm just gonna pop your Instagram link in the chat.
Shere, I just loved the way that your poem and your painting just how you were actually making the poem to go with the painting and how the poem and the painting were one. It was really beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. I look forward to reversing that order.
There, this is Josie from San Diego. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you, Josie.
Okay, good. Thank you. What I really loved what you said about how the poem and the artwork, because the encaustic artwork revealed itself. And I just, because poetry does reveal so much beneath the surface, and so does encaustic. So I appreciate that. Thank you. I'm going to remember that.
Thank you so much, Josie.
Are there any other questions or comments? Ruth, did we want to try Amory again? I have the Google Translate of how to say. Oh, you're here? You're here?
And parle-moi.
We
I can
Do you see her on the screen? Do you see Anne-Marie on the screen?
we can see her poem and her artwork.
But not her.
Do we want to? Do we need to?
Because
No.
we think
Okay.
we have a problem with the camera.
Okay, she'll read the poem.
Okay, go. Go. À la recherche de soi. Que d'instants passés à se perdre, à chercher son âme dans ses contradictions, à vivre ses différences en s'accordant aux habitudes, aux acquis et aux obligés. La vie, petit à petit, nous forme et nous transforme. Puis, on ne sait plus du tout qui on est ou ce qu'on aurait pu être. That's it. I will present me a little bit. Je travaille à l'encaustique depuis une quinzaine d'années. Depuis que j'ai découvert ce médium, je m'y consacre entièrement. J'ai toutefois persévéré en sculpture et en pyrogravure et bien sûr en écriture. J'ai tenté par ma toile à l'encaustique sur bois de représenter la recherche, les pensées, les questionnements auxquels nous avons tous à nous confronter un jour ou l'autre. Pour moi, il n'y a rien comme la nature pour nous enrober et nous apaiser dans ces moments de réflexion. C'est pourquoi je privilégie les matériaux les plus naturels possibles. Mon travail sur le bois représente actuellement mes préoccupations. En série de 4 tableaux sur des thèmes tels que l'humanité, nos racines, l'envol des femmes vers la liberté. Ces toiles reflètent les réalités qui nous entourent. Quant à mes toiles sur papier, elles sont plus intuitives et spontanées. Ma préoccupation alors est de garder les couleurs vives et les mouvements précis. J'aime la simplicité et la précision pour garder la pureté du geste et de la transparence. Merci. I will be happy to answer your question. I will do my best to answer in English. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Emery. Do we have any questions or comments? And if anyone does speak French, feel free to ask the questions in French. I just wanted to say that the line in your poem, La vie petite, petite nous femme, et nous transforme, that is beautiful. That is just, yeah, that was my goosebump moment in hearing that poem. Okay, and I'm going to put your Instagram into the chat. Are there any other questions or comments? Thank you so much, Emery.
Thank you for you.
Next we have Griet or Griet. I'm sorry,
Yes.
I'm butchering names today.
That's perfect.
Okay. So if you want to read and speak to your poem and your artwork, please.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I will try to speak my very best English to be understandable. Thank you so much, and I'm so happy to be part of this beautiful project, and I'm very proud of it, to be in it. My paintings are the expression of my inner world, the child in me. It all starts with an emotion that's popping up and push me into drawing. So I will read you the emotions I got while I was drawing this painting. The title is Illusion. A world without borders, lighter than a breath. Wings pushing back the past, in front the future, confident with eyes wide shut. During the drawing, my mind is wandering in a world of symbols, in a world of imagination. And line after line, the emotion becomes an image. And all what you see in the picture, it comes out of the feelings I got while drawing line after line. Encaustic is for me a wonderful world. I was first a ceramic sculptor. I was also a painter. But for me, the encaustic is really a fusion between the two worlds. And that makes me so happy to apply it and to use it. It's also a living thing. The wax is from bees, and it's wonderful that we can use it. It gives me splendid colors also. For me, it gives the opportunity to express me fully, and it gives ways to express that you cannot find in other ways of, in other things like acrylic or whatever. So that's a result of it all. I'm an encaustic painter for about now. I'm very young in it, even when I'm a little bit older yet, but I'm in it for about 5 years now. So I'm going further and further. Every time I make a drawing, I discover new possibilities with this material. And it's a never-ending world, and it's really a challenge. For me, it's the most beautiful way to paint.
Hmm.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Sorry, I was muted. And I didn't say that you're from France. So
Yeah.
international submissions, as we had already mentioned before. And this is their URL to visit their website in the chat.
Okay.
Were there any questions or comments? There was a comment from Shere in the chat. And they say, I love all you say about the richness of how you work in materials.
Thank you.
And Jojo says, your colors are so rich and beautiful, so rich and deep and beautiful.
Okay, thank you. I make them myself for information. So I don't know how other people work, but I'm mixing the pigments myself with the wax, and that's already a magic world.
Mm-hmm.
I also wanted to say, Griet, I love the line "wings pushing back the past." That is, I found to be very powerful.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments?
Great. Could I ask, it's Jane here. When I look at your piece, I wish I could see it in real life. It looks like it has texture and depth. Is the wax built up, or is that shadow with that you build with the paint?
It's built up for a part. It's built up, but I'm using after the drawing. I use a small wooden stick. I'm drawing on a silk paper because we cannot draw on the wax. So I draw on silk paper, and after I transmit it with a wooden stick on my wooden panel. And after I'm using an engraving point, it's very, very sharp metal point. I use just to engrave it in the wax, and after I paint within it. So what you see, there is structure for sure, but there is engraving, and that's what you see probably also.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So next we have Dusty, and they are from Drumheller, Alberta.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, so I'm from Drumheller, used to live in Calgary. I am actually a multidisciplinary artist. This is actually, I want to say thank you to the organizers of this, because this is actually my first Encaustic exhibition ever.
Congratulations. Sorry, I need to
Thanks.
mute myself, but congratulations.
I have been, my first exposure to Encaustic was less than 2 years ago. So but it's a medium that I'm really, really enjoying working with. So that said, Father, I stand alone amongst the autumn leaves, and I am reminded of you. Your soul, like the leaves, painted with all the colors of love. The leaves will soon be gone, replaced with a soft blanket of white. And as the cold wind scatters the leaves, I feel it brush across my heart. Oh, Father, why must it be that you are gone and I am grown, and I must say one last goodbye as I stand alone amongst the autumn leaves? You know, memories are the threads that connect us to our past. This piece is dedicated to the memory of my dad. It's about connection to a person, to a place, to a time, and even to a feeling. To create that sense of connection, I actually used a sewing machine to thread paint the shapes of the leaves and then embed them into the wax. the openness of the leaves for me speaks to that fragility of life. My dad died actually in some spring of 2010. But I always have these memories of him and I in the fall, just laying out underneath the stars. I grew up in the country, so we'd lay out under the stars and we'd watch, the northern lights, and he taught me how to pick out the satellites, which back then was a bit more challenging than it is today. There were a lot fewer of them. Yeah, so anyways, this is about my memories of him, this piece.
Thanks, Dusty. Were there any questions or comments for Dusty?
I would like to just acknowledge the power of an ode to a father, I think specifically a father, and that the life of this poem suggests the ongoing connection.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's really, really beautiful.
And in the comments, Alice has said, "Thank you, Dusty. This deeply touches my soul." Oops, and that moved. As I remember the recent passing of my beloved father. And Anita says that they have tears. And Adam says, "Thanks, Dusty. This is my first Encaustic exhibition as well."
Congratulations, Adam.
And I'm going to put your Instagram into the chat.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So next we will hear from Ursi. Again, maybe butchering names. They are from Switzerland.
Yes, hello everybody. My name is Ursi. Actually, you say Ursi, but the English-speaking people have a little bit problems with the U and the R, so they mostly say Ursi, which is fine with me as well. I live in Switzerland. I'm an encaustic painter since 2012. I went to America and to England and to Ireland I was taught by very, very good encaustic artists, and now in my own studio I teach it as well. I'm sorry, English is not my native tongue and I'm very nervous. I teach it in my studio, mostly to artists who want to bring their paintings further from their own work. For example, if somebody works with watercolor, I can show her how she can go on with encaustic over her painting. So they mostly come with their work and we go from there. I'm a trained dressmaker, so I actually was creative my whole life. And when I discovered encaustic, it was out of this world. And I always say I eat, breathe, and sleep encaustic. I love it so much, and the way I can use it and form it and find new things I can put into the wax makes me very exciting. My poem, I wrote my poem when I went to Ireland to have a portrait workshop or to learn how to work with encaustic in portraiture. I wrote it when I came home, and that was in 19. And last year, I think it was last year, or yes, last year, end of last year, I worked in this piece with pit lime, which I use quite a lot, and rust. And when I worked on the painting, I realized that it has got very much similarities to my poem, meaning that I'm Italian. My father is Italian, my mother German, my grandmother Swiss, and I grew up in Switzerland. So I always was torn between the different countries, and the poem and the painting just worked so beautiful together. So that's why I submitted that, and thank you very much that I can be part of this. It's called Nations Unite. It changes, makes sense. Why did I wait so long? Do I have to adapt? The past fights in my body, in my soul. Who should I measure up to? Nations unite in me and want to get out. Tell me how to be and say how, where to adapt. I feel pressured, thrown back and forth. So I just let go. I decide. I am going the way I want to go, with my life and with my art. I feel free. Life, to be and want to be. Breathe in, exhale, let go. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing sharing your artwork and your poetry and your journey with Encaustic with us. Are there any questions or comments? Anita says, gorgeous work in the chat.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can I ask, is that gold leaf? It's hard to see from what I'm looking at. The gold part is, or are we just seeing gold encaustic paint? It's really beautiful in there.
Thank you, Kate. It's rust.
Oh, nice.
It's rust.
Okay. Yeah. Lovely.
Thanks very much for your nice comment. Thank you.
I'm just going to put your Instagram handle in here as well. Yeah, there's lots of comments coming through. Jojo says that they love it's beautiful and that they love the contrast between the rust and the bluish or the grayish blue paint. I always get Bridget and Brigitte mixed up with the names. Really match the name really matches your work and that they love it. And my Shere said, my breath followed your voice to the final line and beautiful image. And Heidi said, beautiful marriage of wax and words. And Ruth, if you know Ruth, you know that she loves rust. So she wrote that.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So next we will hear from Roxanne, and they're from Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Hello. I feel privileged to speak after Ursi because I feel that there is kind of a related content in the work. I am not a poet, but I do haiku as part of a journaling process. So my piece is called Trouble the Water, both the poem and the art piece. Stand in your power. Be the storm you need to be. Trouble the water. So this piece, I say, often in a world that can be unkind and unfair, silence is seen as weakness or compliance. Trouble the Water, both poem and painting, are dedicated to those who struggle to have their voices heard and meant to encourage the voiceless to rise up and make waves. So this piece is kind of a series, part of a series where I worked with layering image and symbols and image, kind of create a narrative. And I often kind of work with a connection between the environment and human experience. So I love working with Encaustic because you can layer stories and you can layer images and messages. So I also work with other materials like rust and photos and different organics. So I love what Encaustic allows us to do, and that is to keep reinventing the painting process. So I'm just grateful to be a part of this group. It gets pretty isolating here in Milwaukee. I know very few people who work in Encaustic. So I also do workshops in my studio to try to expand the community in our area. But just being able to connect with others who work in the media is it's a wonderful thing. Like I said, it gets a little isolating. So just to be part of a larger community, I'm grateful for this opportunity. So thank you to the organizers for putting together such an amazing group of artists. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Roxanne. We appreciate all the gratitude. We are we are appreciative of your gratitude. I always thank you for your thank you, right? Anyway, yes, we are very appreciative of everyone's gratitude, and we just want to see Encaustic, spread across the universe and be able to bring us all together. Us being Encaustic artists or Encaustic lovers together and into a community and a supportive community. So and thank you for your poem. That is that's a strong poem, and that's a poem, in my opinion, that needs to be dispersed amongst everybody like now, right? That is the message of of now.
Times are it's pretty tough just about everywhere for anyone who's marginalized. So I appreciate that you recognize that as well.
Thank you. And Shere said, wow, powerful message. And they put in quotes, good trouble. Jojo has said, I love the strength of the grounded feet in contrast with the moving water. And then the light shining behind. What a lovely composition. Orsi said, I love your poem, Roxanne. Thank you. And Deanne said, so many beautiful, hold on, my mouse is floating over things. So many beautiful approaches enhanced by the poetry here today. Also a little isolated from many Encaustic artists here in Australia. So grateful to be part of this community. And I will just pop your Instagram so that we can all stay connected, right?
I'm so happy that you're doing that. Yes.
Yeah. So we can all stay connected and and follow one another.
Thank you again.
Are there any other questions or comments that somebody wanted to say out loud?
I do want to add that the comment, these probably weren't exactly your words, but about inventing painting through Encaustic, and I thought that was a really wonderful description because it feels that way. Feels like
Thank you, because I've gone through many media in my day, and this is the only one that I never get bored of because there's always something new that you can do. Yeah.
Absolutely. Any other comments? Questions? Had a prof that ended every lecture by saying questions, comments, new ideas, and now I find myself saying that all the time. So next we will hear from Mindy. She is from BC. Oh, sorry, I didn't read your pronouns on here. I assumed that you were a female. So Mindy, and congrats to Mindy, who has sold this painting. And they are donating 50% of the proceeds to Ukraine relief.
Very exciting to be here. My painting practice has been slim in the last few years. When the war broke out in Ukraine, I was feeling pretty helpless. Of course, we had the overlay of COVID. And so I painted a series of sunflowers because they're bright and cheery. This painting sold to a longtime friend, so I'm very encouraged by that, and I will actually get to visit it at some point on Vancouver Island. So sunflowers, I've tried to grow them. I'm going to be trying to grow them again. They're very optimistic and sturdy flowers. I've been painting in Encaustic since about 2008, part of the Can West Wax West group, which unfortunately has disbanded in the last couple of years after COVID, after the pandemic. But we were a group of 40 strong that were doing things like this. We had our own waxing Poetic, and I was too chicken to make a poem at that time. So I stilled myself and wrote a haiku, which I've never done before. And this is it. Nourish, faces follow day, solar seeking finds delight, summer sunflower. Thank you.
Thank you, Mindy. Did anyone have any questions or comments for Mindy?
Mindy, I just wanted to say that the sunflower is just such an optimistic, positive image, and it the way that you have it, the words seeking finds the light. I loved that line. Beautiful.
It's nice to see so many faces that I haven't seen, but I've been following your work. In particular, Ruth.
I'll just pop Mindy's Instagram in here. And I'm just gonna grab myself a drink. Hold on a second. Roxanne says art and poem are very lyrical. Okay, thanks everyone. So next is Kate, and they're from Dayton, Ohio.
Hello. I'm gonna talk a little bit about the work itself, because it's one piece, but it is a series of 16 small panels. They're like 6 by 6 inches. And I made this for a show where I was talking about mark making and how we perceive like see words and symbols sometimes when there is one there, or maybe when there isn't, and we kind of make symbols out of marks. So when I started this and wrote this poem, I was in the midst of a really, really hard year. My father-in-law was dying, my brother-in-law was dying, and my mother-in-law had dementia. And so, you know, my husband at that point was taking care of his and losing his whole family. And so we were just in it deep. So I was kind of doing that, moving from moment to moment and just getting through my day, and trying to finish a show that went up a week after both my father-in-law and brother-in-law passed away. So that's where I was when this happened. And so I'm gonna read my poem. The pieces, the symbols each like actually correspond to one of the small thoughts and like small prayers that I was putting out there. I'm not gonna tell you which one goes with which line, but the symbols are all created symbols. They're not actually runes. They're not actually real symbols in any way, but I made them kind of based on what I was thinking about. Okay. Prayers to small gods. Please, God, let me be on time, and let this person driving 10 miles an hour under the speed limit just get out of my way. Please let there be coffee, and please, please let this be the day that someone brought donuts. Please let me have a cell signal, and God, please let my call get through this time, and let me not wait on hold forever. Please let this call not be from my mother-in-law, because God, she's called me 10 times in the last half hour, and I just can't. Please let these cute shoes at the thrift store be my size, and when I get home, let dinner be already made, or at least let us go out. Please let me go run into a friend who still smokes and will share a cigarette with me, even though I haven't smoked in ages, but still, one would be nice. Please let me not drop this thing I stupidly balanced on top of the laundry I'm carrying up the stairs. And let there be a new episode of that show tonight. God, let me not have to clean up dog pee yet again. And let there be an email that says, yes, your work has been accepted. Please let there be enough hot water to finish shaving my legs. And please, God, let me fall asleep.
I like that.
That's it.
Thanks, Kate. I just wanted to say, when I read this poem, I'm like, yes. Yes. And I took a screenshot of it and sent it to my friend right away because yeah, the pair of us are just going through stuff all the time together. So yep.
Yeah.
Are there any other comments for Kate? Anita, oh, go ahead.
Yes, Kate, can I just say this is such a beautiful, powerful poem. I mean, every line could be me as well. It's beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, Kirsty.
So Jojo says, I find this work so inspiring. I want to create my own art and write my own poem of a prayer to small gods. Deborah says, love it, so relatable, or so relate. Anita says, so relatable. Deanne says, love it, definitely relate. And Bridget says, this is real life, love it. And I'm just gonna, oh, there's one more here. Adam says sensitive and whimsical. And I'm gonna put your Instagram into the chat here. And Roxanne loves the idea of creating your own symbols.
Thank you. Thanks.
And thanks, Kate, for sharing, because I didn't, when I looked at the artwork and read the poem online, I didn't make the connection that these were all small paintings and that each one was a small little prayer of its own. And yes, I love the idea of your own marks. It's lovely.
Thank you.
I feel like, I want to say, I feel like looking at the images, which I absolutely want to see up close, are very vast. I mean, it's almost like looking out into the cosmos. And then the contrast to the poem, which is about these details. And in the midst of deep grief and loss, and as you said, moving moment to moment, which I thought was very poetic in its own right. This just covers so much territory. It's wonderful.
Thank you.
Thanks, Shere.
If I may, one of the things that strikes me is the synergy between the words and the image. You know, there's the backstory makes the poem so poignant, and at the same time we take it to another level with the synergy. The basically this, you know, the whole is more than the sum of the parts, right? So that's you know, Kate, I think that's the poem just is so beautiful, so sensitive, so whimsical, and yet the backstory is so sad, and yet the imagery is so strong and resolute, and you know, there's so many layers to these symbols of yours. I don't know, just this work, your work really moves me.
Thank you so much. I'm happy that I could get that out. First of all, it's good to get it out of your head. Like when you're working, it's, you know, I think a lot of times when we're making art, we're really, just trying to get things that are stuck in there out into the world. So it's helpful for me to be able to do this, but I'm really happy that I was able to share this with you all. I mean, it's been seen in a show, but this kind of gives it a broader audience and we can have a discussion about it. And this is just a really great opportunity. I appreciate being able to share it with you all. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. I just wanted to reiterate that the catalog on the website does have larger images of the work, and that you can click through. And I believe the catalog is up until the end of April, and then it will be downloadable as a PDF afterwards. So it will remain on the site, just not in the big image XSC part. That makes sense. So our last presenter today is Anita from Hamilton, Ontario.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be a part of the Canadian Encaustic Conference. I've been an artist all my life. My father was an oil painter and he started teaching me under 10 years old. And then I had a 26-year career in the high end of the fashion industry in Toronto as a pattern maker and designer. And then when I moved to Hamilton in 2004, that's when I started getting into encaustic. And what I love about it is just the vast variety of directions you can take with it. And I am ADHD, and I never get bored with encaustic. I just don't have enough time to do all the things I want to do with it. It's just endless. The work around that I see by other artists, everyone has their own different approaches, and there's just so many different techniques you can apply for different outcomes. This particular piece was something else before, and I painted over it. And I find that often when I get not upset, but when I take aggression out on a piece, that's when things start to happen. And I guess the release from inside. It started as a shellac burn underneath, and you can see, when you look closely, you can see layers of that coming through. So there's a little bit of subtle accretion. I used pan pastels. I carved down into the accretion, revealing some of the blues and shellac burn from the previous painting, and used an encaustic writer, the stylus, for detail work on it. The poem, it was interesting when I finished it. The poem brought emotions from me when I look at it, and then depending on who looked at it, they had different visions of what they were seeing, and that's how my poem came about. Windswept fields borrow from the heart, stirring turbulent emotions, laying bare the transience of life, the passing of time and desolation. At a glance, some see snowy fields, others see sandy beaches. Either could be right. But truthfully, I don't know if I'd want people to go, to follow its call. Standing at the edge, how uncomfortable it is to know that a place considered to be beautiful can impart such a sense of solitude or hopelessness, like a trap to draw you into an unbounded, hopeless eternity. I stand at the edge looking out, and to me, you don't see what's beyond in the distance. Depending on the screen, I could see light in the center, in the distance of the painting, and it sort of draws me in, but it looks cold and lonely and desolate, but it still draws me in somehow. And that's what I feel by the time I finish the painting.
Thanks, Anita. Were there any questions for Anita? Or comments?
I really like your layers and depth in there. I really like that I can see underneath to the things sort of floating under the surface there. It's one of the things I love about this medium, and
Mhm.
I want to go to the website and look at it closer so I can see that underlayer a little better, but I really enjoy that.
Thank you.
I think this image is so beautiful, and the the texture of the landscape and the kind of unclear division between sky and earth, and then I was captivated when you read your poem about capturing the beauty of desolation, which just the word desolation alone feels not so beautiful, and yet this is another dimension of it. And so the poem speaks really in concert with the image. Really beautiful.
Thank
You
you.
did mention it up. You mentioned something in the painting, the previous painting before it transformed into what we're looking at here. And I think it was a technical term. I didn't write it down, but I'm curious about it because I don't know what it is. You said,
I was dry brushing. I made I brought the texture and layers up with accretion, dry brushing. Yeah,
Okay.
some white wax on, and then carving back down into it with new tools to start feeling what was under. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's
You know,
right.
it's funny because a lot of my paintings, I start off, I've taken workshops with Alicia Tormey, and her paintings are very smooth and very even. And I start my paintings often that way, and then I end up roughing them up in the end. I take so many steps to make it beautiful and smooth, and then comes, you know, then I get aggressive with it. It's just how it goes.
Thanks, Anita. I'm just going to read some of the comments here in the chat. Orsi says, it's so wonderful how one looks at a painting differently when it's explained with a poem. And it is beautiful and makes me yearn to be there. And Deborah says, it makes me want to touch it. And Mary says, all of the work was amazing, thoughtful and wonderful. Thank you for putting this together. We appreciate your appreciation. Jojo, I love the sense of movement created by the layers and this sort of path that winds into the distance. It is desolate, but so evocative. And there's someone that says, there's just no name, love that there are no mistakes in encaustic and underpainting becomes another painting. Lovely. And Deanne says, it's been a lovely cross-section of work typical of the diversity of encaustic can bring. Lucia says, I came here to help a Brazilian friend translate her thoughts. She wasn't able to attend, but I'm so glad I decided to stay. Oops, and that moved on me. I love the paintings and the poems. And Alice has said the depths of this poetic waxing experience filled with opportunities to laugh, learn, grieve, grow, and relate and connect has been so amazing. Thank you to all the organizers and all the artists. We are very grateful. Oh, and I should be referring to you as Allie. Sophie says, sorry to have missed so much. It's okay, Sophie. So appreciative to see all this beautiful work and to be a part of this amazing community. Yeah, those are the comments that were in the chat. So we'll end the share screen, Ruth. Okay. And then we will have oh, and Julia says, as we are closing, I want to thank you for the honor of being part of this exhibit. This gathering of hearts meeting has been wonderful and healing. Thank you for sharing your souls. Okay, so we'll just, Jane has some closing remarks because Jane is very thoughtful and we love Jane.
On behalf of Amelia and the conference organizing committee, I'd like to say a special thank you to the poet artists who shared their work today. There's a particular sense of vulnerability that comes with putting our artwork out into the world, and that can be magnified when we introduce the power of words, especially poetry. I think we've seen that here this afternoon. I have a few brief comments as we conclude this event and a heads up on what you can expect next in our countdown to the Canadian Encaustic Conference. So if you haven't already, be sure to join our mailing list and follow us on Instagram and Facebook. It's been such a treat to see the work of all 119 artists who contributed to this beautiful and varied show that bridges poetry and art. And it's great to hear that some of you are showing your encaustic work for the first time here. If you haven't already checked out the online exhibit on the website, please do. And we thank Ruth, who's so generously created both the website and the exhibit. And thank you as well, Ruth, for creating the platform for the Zoom call and allowing us to see the exhibit this afternoon. Thanks also to Terry Gregg, who's been posting the show on social media over the past few months. As I think Ruth and Amelia have both mentioned, the show will be up until the end of April, and the catalog will remain on the website after that. And for anyone who's missed the beginning of this afternoon's event, the recording will be posted as well, won't it, Amelia? Sorry, you're muted.
Yeah, it was telling me at the top, but I was like, no, I don't need to read that. Yeah, so it will be posted, it will be shared on our Facebook account. And then I believe maybe a link to it on our website. We'll get it out there. I also just wanted to put the link to the group exhibit in the chat. Did that? Yeah, that went, sorry. Okay, go ahead, Jane.
I think I'm repeating what folks here have said so eloquently so many times, that this show really demonstrates the incredible breadth that the encaustic medium can span. I found the sculptures particularly amazing, including Shere Barr and Karen Brown's encaustic on clay, Shere Coleman's encaustic paper mache, Marilyn Wilson's encaustic on plexiglass and mica, and of course, Amanda Pierce's elder tree that we saw at the beginning. These beautiful pieces are among the many works that can inspire us to see the possibilities for using the encaustic medium in different ways and consider which techniques we might want to try next. I feel like it's, I've been getting to know you as artists through your artwork over the past month, and it's been great to be able to meet you almost in person, or many of you almost in person this afternoon. One of the organizing committee's goals here is to create and foster a community of encaustic artists, and it kind of feels like we're beginning to do that. Finally, thank you to everyone for joining us this afternoon. And a final heads up, we will be running another online show in the fall of 2024. For any encaustic artist who'd like to get a head start with their submission, the theme of this upcoming show will be near and far. Taglines and details will be announced in our summer newsletter and through Instagram. So in conclusion, thank you all for joining us. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day or evening, and happy creating.
Thanks, Jane. Thanks everyone for joining. Yeah, and we'll see you online and in the fall exhibit, and then we'll see everyone in the conference next year. Yay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. For an amazing afternoon.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Thanks, goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.